We're going to start this exercise by taking a look at the practice design project. So what I've got up on my screen is the topographic survey. I'm actually signed in underneath the Autodesk, so I can use the geolocation for this project. If you don't have the geolocation on, yours will probably look like this when you start the project. Now, the first thing that you can see is the contours of the topographic map. We also can see the boundary of the survey. So you can see the bearings and distances. The blue lines represent the boundary of the project. And it also, there's two lots. There's a lot here and a lot here. So we're going to use the lot on this. Actually, we're going to be using it all the way from this side. Okay, the access to our project's going to be from this road here. And we do have a 20-foot access easement through here, but that we're not going to use that for this project. For this first exercise, I just want you to get used to using AutoCAD and Civil 3D. So the first command I'm going to show you to isolate information is you can use your home ribbon, or you can use the ribbon, or you can use a command prompt. I'm going to probably be showing you all the command prompts because it might take too long for me to find the buttons at the top. If you've already been using AutoCAD and Civil 3D, you can do it however you wish. But I just want to isolate our boundary, okay? So I can highlight it and I can say lay ISO. That means layer isolation. So I only want to isolate those layers, all right? So that's the first command. Now, I want to show you a series of commands to start drawing. If you already know these commands, then that's fine, but for the ones that haven't used AutoCAD in a while, I want to take this step by step so you'll be able to have a good idea of how to draw your project. Now, I'm going to unisolate the layers because I want to talk about our project area, the practice area. So I'm going to type in lay uniso. So you can pick layers that you want to isolate and visualize. All right. Also, when we're talking about layers, if you type in LA, it's a layer command, and you can see all these layers are available. When you start to design, like I'm going to create a layer called, I'm going to use this button right here, and I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to call it 0-FAU. I just want it at the top so I'm not looking for it. Civil 3D already makes a boatload of layers for you. And I'm going to call it Centerline Road because that's what I'm going to start with. And I'm going to go ahead and make that current. Okay, so I'm going to start with the center line of my road, and then we're going to build our lots based on the information that we gathered from the Muni code. But before I do that, let's take a look at the project site and do a site analysis. When we can see the contours, they range from 87 all the way down here to 74. So we know that water runs downhill, right? So we want to make sure that when we're laying out our site, good engineers, we want to put the pond at the lowest point of the site because we don't want to have to pump the water uphill. So with just looking at this information, we can see that we've got 80, 81, 82, 83. So water runs this direction. So we're looking at our drainage pattern. Part of the site, you can see the ridge line. Part of the site runs to the east, and the other part runs to the southwest. So I'm going to, in the end, I'm going to put a pond somewhere down here in this low point. So I'm going to start off by designing our roadway, and then we can figure out our minimum design size. So I'm going to go ahead and isolate that layer again. Give me 1 second. You can also type in lay ISO, enter, and then pick the layers you want. Okay, and then hit enter. All right. Now, before we do that, I want to show you the information that we've collected. Based on, let me bring this over, hopefully. Based on the information we've collected, we went to the Muni code, we went to the zoning, chapter 38. I'd like you to click on this, and it'll take you to the Muni code for Orange County. When we go to the project, your project's going to be in Osceola County, so you're going to follow the same pattern to this example. So go down and you're looking for zoning. When you click on zoning, you're going to be looking at the various zoning codes. So we were zoned R1. So when you go through here, you would look for something that says R1. So residential districts. And then you're going to go to R1. As soon as I find it. And then you'll scroll down, and what you're looking for is the site building requirements. But what this does, it says go to this article here. So you're going to scroll down, and then you're going to find that article, and that is this one right here. And what that does is it gives you a list. I want you to download this list and send it to me in a Word document. You can do that by clicking here. I went ahead and isolated the information that we need. So the minimum building area, or the lot areas, is 5,000 square feet. The minimum living area, the house, the smallest size house, is going to be 1,000 square feet of living space. The minimum lot width at the front of the lot, typically your street side, or it could be rear, if it's a rear loaded townhome or rear loaded lot, meaning your garage is in the back, it could be 50 feet. Now, the rest of these are going to be setbacks. That means your building cannot encroach 20 feet from the front, 20 feet from the rear, 5 feet from the side, and the highest the building can be is 35 feet. Sometimes the side street setback will also. That means if you're on a corner lot, one side of the street has probably a larger setback. So the setback means you can't put a building in that area or some type of structure in that area. So 50 feet is going to be what my front is. So I'm going to move that out of the way. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say I'm going to build a road, and it's just going to be, I'm going to draw a line, a polyline. So PL for polyline. This is the center line of my road, and you can see that it should have been set current. So type in LA to get your layers, and I'm going to make that one current by clicking that, and you'll want that on. So these buttons over here are on, off, turn on current layer. So you can see that there's a little light bulb for the on and off. The freeze means it's like it's off, but it's completely frozen. So I'm going to turn that on, and I'm going to make it current. You can also do that with this pull down. So I'm going to type in PL for polyline, enter. And here's the other thing. This button right here is all of your various snaps. That means I can snap to an endpoint. So when it's not highlighted, it means it's off, and you can hit Shift and right click on your mouse and click on an endpoint. You can go Shift and right click and go perpendicular. So I'm also going to come down midpoint. Now I want it midpoint between this line here and this line here. And to do that, I'm going to just show you several commands. I'm going to trim, TR for trim. Now you can have a cutting edge. If I click on the cutting edge and I want to trim by this line, and I hit enter, and I delete that portion of the line, okay? Now I'm going to create another polyline, or I can use L for line, Shift right click and click on midpoint, Shift right click and go perpendicular, okay? Now, by doing this, you can also go ahead and have your O snaps set. Whenever they're checked, then that means what's being snapped by. Midpoint, center, like if I had the center line here and I wanted to draw a polyline, I could go, make sure it's on, I could go polyline, and if I get near the center, see how this pops up? That's the midpoint. That's the end point. You can see the center is here. So that snaps are really, really good to use. Always use a snap. Now, I want a 50-foot radius in here. I want my road to come in and I want it to turn 50 feet because I'm going to create a cul-de-sac. So fillet radius, and then I'm going to type in, so F for fillet, R for radius. You can also, F for fillet, you can hit the blue, R for radius, and I'm going to type in a 50. And then I'm going to click on this line and then this line. And now I've got a radius that is tangential to each of my lines. All right, so this will be our center line of our roadway. Now, if you go back to the building code or the Muni code, you also have in here your subdivision design standards, and you can see streets, and then you'll be able to see cul-de-sacs. The cul-de-sacs have to have a minimum radius of 34. The radius at the right-of-way shall be a minimum of 44 for the curb and gutter sections and 50 for the swale sections. So for our right-of-way line, it's going to be 44 feet. And the minimum radius for curb and gutter is going to be 34 feet. So what that means is, let's say I wanted a cul-de-sac. I wanted to build a cul-de-sac. So I'm going to type in C for circle. And I am going to pick the point that I wanted. And I'm just going to pick right here. Okay. Now it says diameter or radius. I'm going to click in a radius so I don't have to hit anything. And I'm just going to say 44 feet. Okay. So that is the cul-de-sac, or the beginnings of the cul-de-sac. So you can also, when you have these are called grips. So you can highlight it. You can pick that point, shift right click, and go to center. Okay. So that's the start of my centerline road. I'm going to pause here, and then I'm going to show you how to start building the edge of pavements, your curb and gutter, and then we'll do our lots.